I actually learned about co-housing when my daughter was away to college, and I knew that it was time to downsize from my big suburban house, and it was just too big, too lonely up there. And I was started looking at different places to move to, and I came across a co-housing community that was being built in the city that I was living in at the time, or was being planned in a city that I was in at the time. And I got very excited, went and met with them, went to their potluck, of course, and got involved right away. And it was really awesome because I finally found that yes, I can be in community and still be, a single independent person. It was very gratifying. I think about this a lot. I think about walking out my back door and looking out over the bowl, as they call it, the terrain of the property, and there's wooded area down there, and I can see the farm off in the distance. And maybe I look over this way and I see one of my neighbors coming out, and we wave and say, "Hey." And I just it and I I know it's quiet, but I hear the birds singing and all of that. So a very natural environment sounds really nice. And if I walk out my front door, then I can see the common house and I can see, hey, what's going on down there? And if I'm feeling social that day, I'll go walk down there and join in. Or I can just hang out on my porch. They're going to have nice front porches, I think. I actually lived in co-housing for 5 years, and it was, well, I lived in co-housing through the pandemic, and I can't imagine how people survived without co-housing during the pandemic, honestly. Living in co-housing is great for me because I am basically an introvert. I like my privacy. I like to retreat, and once I have, a full day of people time, I need some alone time. And co-housing gives me that. And when when I was living in co-housing, I found because I knew everybody that lived there. Some of them I knew better than others, of course, but I knew everybody that lived there. It felt safe on many levels, and it really gave me a good feeling of safety in my environment. When I think about diversity, I think about diversity of interests and diversity of skills. I think about how we're all going to be able to contribute whatever gifts we have to the community, and we'll also be able to draw on other people's gifts as we need them. For example, when I lived in co-housing, there was a woman there who was a retired nurse. We all called on her when something was going wrong with our bodies. It was really, really nice to have that around. The learning opportunities are huge when you live in co-housing. I do plan to learn something more about quilting from Sandy, for sure. I do plan to learn more about some natural remedies from Donna, and etc. These are things that I have some interest in. I think they're really cool, but I don't have years of study. I just want to learn from them. That'll be really helpful. Living in co-housing, you have your privacy just like you would have in any home in any neighborhood, but you walk out the door and you know everybody that lives there. You know who lives in every unit. At some level, you may know them some better than others. You may be best friends with some. But you do know the co-housing community. I guess I could say almost forces you to come together to work with each other at some level, and that fosters safety for me, for sure, and a feeling of belonging. Honestly, we're just forming a community. We're doing a real estate development project. ourselves so that we can intentionally have the kind of community that we want. When I think of sustainability, I actually think more about resilience and the fact that because we're part of a community, we can take care of each other. That we can, if the power goes out, somebody's going to have a generator. I know it, and they're going to go around and help make sure that our freezers stay cold, and that sort of thing will be much more possible in a community like this than in a normal suburban neighborhood. The loneliness epidemic is real, and especially as I age, I want to make sure that I am in a place where I have connections without going too far. Honestly, I'm a homebody. I am a homebody. If, given my druthers, I would never get in my car and drive anywhere. I've always thought if I just had a few friends in the neighborhood that I can walk to their house, I'll be fine. And in a co-housing community, they're all right there. I won't have to go anywhere if I don't want to. There does tend to be a lot of meetings in co-housing because we have to decide and we have to do the work of building at this point and then, of course, maintaining a community. So think about it like, in your family home, say if the nuclear family, they have to figure out how to run their household, right? Well, we've got basically this property where we've got 30 some odd families or households trying to figure out how to manage and maintain that property. So you got to talk about it. You just do. So there are a fair amount of meetings in co-housing for sure. And there are some people that do better in meetings and some people that don't. Personally, I really appreciate meetings that are well facilitated and keep a running action list of things we have to accomplish and decisions we have to make. And the co-housing model really fosters that. That model of coming together and working through a variety of systems like sociocracy or modified consensus and that sort of thing. It provides guidance and role models for us basically as we're living in co-housing and how to get stuff done in a realistic, nice way. I think it's kind of baked into the co-housing ethos to, we start every meeting with check-ins, for example. And one of the purposes of that, number one, right now, is to check your audio level on Zoom. But the second part is just to make sure we acknowledge, hey, we see you. We're so glad you're here. And it's nice to hear what you've been up to. So it's just kind of baked in. I think we need new models. The large suburban sprawl doesn't seem to be working that well for me. I don't think it's working well for a lot of people. So it's a new way. It's not actually not that new, honestly. It's kind of old school. And we're bringing back the old-fashioned neighborhood, but doing it very much intentionally. This particular development excites me because of the farming aspect. I am a lazy gardener. And yeah, I throw some seeds out in the spring and hope for the best and don't have a really good harvest, honestly. So if there's a professional farmer and I can get involved with that in little ways, great. And then when it comes time for harvest, absolutely I'm going to be out there in the field with my basket picking the green beans. And I just had this vision of bringing 10 pounds of green beans into the common house and getting a group together to pickle them and can them and maybe, I don't know, what else you want to do with green beans. But we will have a day of green beans and we'll process them and we'll be eating fresh green beans for the rest of the year. Have you ever had a freshly picked potato? I had no idea until I was at John and Rebecca's, and they had just harvested some potatoes and were serving them up for a meal. You don't know potatoes until you've had a freshly picked potato, let alone tomato. The fresher the ingredients are, the closer to the table is to the vine where they're grown, the healthier they're going to be, the more macronutrients and micronutrients are actually still going to be there present in the food. It's a real estate development project. The difference being that we, as people that have planned to live there, are getting together to build this community. We don't have a lot of expertise personally in all facets of real estate development. Obviously, we're not developers, but we partner with people that do know this stuff. So we have our consulting partners that have done dozens of co-housing communities all around the country and help them get their projects built. We work with real estate developers and builders that have built, obviously, done this kind of building before and use their expertise. Our architect, which is kind of interesting, actually lives in a co-housing community that he actually designed as well. So we've got that as a strength as well. But it is a lot of work, absolutely, and the decision making of the community is a big part of that, and then actually just getting it built is just a lot of work, like it would for any real estate development project. The focus on sustainability is one of our core values. What does sustainability mean to each individual within the community, and then as to the community as a whole? You'll get different answers, I'm sure, as you're doing these interviews with all of us. So how do you decide what level of, for example, energy efficiency do you put into the homes? What level of solar panels or solar readiness or electric car charging station? So many decisions that we have to make, and what is the cost of each of those now and in the future? There are lots of decisions to be made. I would say hundreds, if not thousands, of decisions to be made on materials and sustainability features of individual homes, sustainability features of the common house, how we manage for example, the water runoff on the entire property. It's a lot of decisions, and each decision we make is going to require some sort of investment or some kind of trade-off. So how do we make those decisions? Well, we start talking about it now before we have to make the decision. We are actually starting this month with our first sustainability discussions, where we start to flesh out what are the options available to us now, how much do they cost, and what does that do to the affordability of our homes now, and what does that do to the sustainability of our homes long-term over time. And we are committed, because it's part of our values, to be sustainable, but now we have to define what does that mean and how are we going to implement it. One of the principles of co-housing design is clustered homes, leaving plenty of open space. So the closer you can put your homes together, the more open space you can leave. So rather than everybody having a quarter acre fenced off from each other, we put the houses together and all those quarter acres kind of go into the big open spot areas. Yeah, we'll have individual little gardens if we want them, sure, of course, no problem. But the homes are generally clustered together and around the common house for ease of access, for a sense of community, and to preserve open space.